Hi, I'm Miranda. So in this video, I'll be sharing the top 10 marketing activities to focus on to grow your therapy practice and attract more therapy clients. So as you no doubt know all too well, as a therapy practice owner in the early days of growing your practice, there's lots of hats to wear and lots of balls to juggle. So it's really important when you're putting your plan together for 2024 to actually put a marketing plan together that's realistic and achievable. And also select marketing activities that will give you the greatest return on investment. That's going to enable you to sustain your marketing activities long term. And also, it's going to mean that you're going to get the results and the growth that you're after. So, what's also important in marketing is consistency. So, it's much better to have a schedule that enables you to be consistent. So, post, say, 2 videos a week compared to, say, 6 this week and not for the next couple of weeks. And one other thing that's important to consider is marketing activities that you actually enjoy and feel comfortable with. So, the nature of marketing and sales really is that sometimes it just brings up doubt within us. I think because what we've heard and learned, especially about sales, that sales is a dirty word and sales is bad. And so I think sometimes there's a lot of barriers and hurdles to overcome when you first sort of start to work in the field of marketing or start to do marketing for your practice. So think about the marketing activities that you feel more comfortable with. And so if videos really freak you out, then go, I'll just won't do videos for now until I get a bit more confident. And you can always gradually add in more activities over time. And that's part of making a realistic schedule as well, because I'll be talking through 10 activities that ideally you should be focusing on. But if you don't have time to do all of these right now, then just gradually add them into the mix. And so over time, you're just getting used to adding more marketing activities into the schedule until it just becomes second nature that you're doing these things. So the first task is to review your website content. And so you really only need to do this about once every 6 months. So I'm just going to refer to some notes to make sure I don't forget anything. So reviewing your website content is important because we want to make sure that your content really reflects your practice and what you do and what you offer and is really going to resonate with your ideal clients, because you really have such a small amount of time when someone lands on your website for them to go, oh, wow, it's like they're talking directly to me. I really feel like they really understand my pain, and I feel like they're probably going to be the best chance I have in moving away from that pain towards my goals and aspirations. And one thing to just keep in mind when you're reviewing your website is it really obvious about what you want people to do next. So sometimes we think it's obvious, but sometimes people really need it spelled out. So the first step is to book a 15-minute consult. The first step is to give us a call. The first step is to fill in the appointment booking form. So just make that really clear. Also, it's important to make sure that you have a really warm, approachable photo. So I still come across websites that have no photos, and it's such an important step in people feeling like you're the right clinician for them. People want to eyeball you. People want to sort of get a sense of whether they think they will connect and resonate with you. So make sure that you have photos and make sure that those photos are really warm, smiling, and really inviting. And they need to be professional, but it's also about bringing real warmth as well. So they don't need to be in your office. They could be outside, somewhere where the sun is shining. And even better, if you feel comfortable, adding a video onto your website, because that obviously enables people to connect with you even more. So part of this 6-monthly website review is also a good opportunity to also review your referrer platform. So things like Psychology Today, because ideally the copy and content on those platforms will align with your website. So once you've reviewed your website and updated that content, then make sure that that is reflected on the referrer platforms as well. So third task is to either set up a Google Business profile, which used to be called Google My Business, or if you've already got a profile, just make sure that it's up to date. So that's making sure the description of your practice is up to date, make sure the opening times are up to date, make sure that you've reviewed that if there's any reviews there that you might need to respond to. And one thing that you can do with your Google business profile, if you do work only from home, say delivering telehealth services, is you can actually make your specific address private, just so people don't know your home address. So because you popped your address into Google, Google will basically just show perimeter around where you actually are. So you'll still pop up in local searches without people knowing your exact address. So I would update that, all the details, just to do a proper review every 6 months, but also on a more regular basis, just check and see if there's any reviews that you need responding to. So next marketing activity to focus on is writing blog articles. So these days, Google's algorithm will rank websites higher that include really valuable people-centered content. And so their policies and information around their algorithm at the moment and ranking on Google clearly states that they will prefer websites that have really thought about the content they're creating, and it's really focused on the reader, providing real value, making sure that you as a clinician is really positioning yourself as knowledgeable, as expert on the topic. And what we want to do is really, when someone lands on that blog article and reads it, to feel like they don't need to go searching anywhere else, because the article that they came across was so in depth, so insightful, and they learned so much that that's the only place they need to go. So in the past, people have tended to write content that is more search engine focused, so things like keyword stuffing, so adding lots of the same keyword on the page. And Google, that's actually part of Google's spam policies at the moment. So, and when we're thinking about AI generated content as well, Google's also coming up with policies and knows whether your content has been written by something like ChatGPT. And the real risk with AI generated content, especially if you don't update and edit it once the AI platform has written it, is it just doesn't sound like your voice. And you can probably tell if you've used ChatGPT before that it just doesn't sound like you. It has a sort of a common tone, structure to paragraphs and sentences. So sometimes, content creation can be the most time consuming thing, but it's so, so important. I really can't emphasize that enough. To really spend the time writing content that will provide your readers with so much value, because that will really help position you as an expert and build trust and credibility. But it also is so important for search engine optimization, which is a really, really tough game when it comes to mental health, because there's just so much competition for the same keywords that you are also probably wanting to rank for on your website. So, next marketing task is sending monthly newsletters. So, basically, when it comes to content, as long as it's really authentic and valuable and knowledgeable, the more the better. And so, if you had heaps of time, then maybe you'd be writing a blog article a week. But this is really about thinking about a schedule that's going to be realistic. And I think if you're starting out, a good goal is to write a blog article once a month. And in marketing, we want to repurpose content as much as possible, because that really helps increase marketing efficiency. So each month you can schedule to write a blog article for your website and upload that. And then that blog article becomes a newsletter. So it's repurposing that piece of content that you've already written. And so a newsletter is a great way to keep you and your practice front of mind. So as you know, people can sit on whether they need help and whether it's the right time, and whether they feel confident enough to reach out and ask for help. So by them joining your newsletter, it's just a way of continually providing value to them, but also keeping you front of mind, because each month you're like, hey, remember me, here's some value. And so it might be in 12 months' time that this person decides to actually book an appointment with someone, and we want them to think of you. So by keeping front of mind, they'll be more likely to think of you and your practice compared to another practice. And so we want to also try and grow your email list and grow your newsletter subscriber list. And so we need to be very careful about laws. Laws are different around the world in terms of requiring people to opt in to receive your newsletter. In Australia, people definitely have to opt in to receive your newsletter. But that's where we can add a form, say, on your website. So you can have a tick box on your contact form that says subscribe to my newsletter, or you can even have a form, say, on your homepage, and you can create what we call like a lead magnet, which is basically just a free resource that people can hand over their email for, and you send that free resource in return. It just helps encourage people to subscribe and hand over their email address. So, next marketing task, social media. So, of course, social media is on the list. And so there are lots of social media platforms, but obviously to be on all of them consistently is a lot of work. So, my advice with social media, if you haven't really dabbled in social media before and you feel a bit daunted by video content at this point in time, my advice is set up an Instagram account initially and start posting image-based or graphic posts on there. So set up an Instagram account, make sure that you set up a business or a professional account rather than using a personal Instagram account, and then set up a Canva account. So Canva, if you're not aware of Canva, is basically a design platform for non-designers. It has amazing templates that you can use. The free version is totally fine for what you need. So set up a Canva account, use their enormous library of social media templates, and then start posting on Instagram, say 3 times a week. So I would do stories, but also the normal graphic posts as well. And don't forget to use hashtags. So hashtags are really, really important in helping to push your posts out on Instagram. So people follow hashtags. So if they're following a hashtag that might say counselor, and if you've used that hashtag on your post, and then there's a chance that that post will appear in that person's feed because they're following the hashtag. They come across your post and your practice, and then they start following you. So once you sort of get in the swing of posting on Instagram, then you can decide, once you get more comfortable, to start adding in some video content. So the next marketing activity to focus on is reaching out to referrers. And this often people find a little bit daunting because you're sort of reaching out to people that you mostly don't know. And it can feel a bit salesy and a bit gross. But at the end of the day, what you're really wanting to do is just nurture relationships with other health professionals and help each other grow and support each other, which is obviously really important. So think about what health professionals, including mental health professionals, are in your local area who may see clients very similar to you. And so when it comes to mental health professionals, you could reach out to really established practices that might have a waiting time to be able to see their clinician. So by working with them and building a trusted relationship, you can then help them ease their waiting list. When it comes to mental health professionals, it's also helpful to think about clinicians who focus on different areas. So, for example, if you focus only on couples, it might be good to form a relationship with a solo therapist that just focuses on individuals. And so they can refer people to you who need couples counselling and vice versa. And also think about health professionals outside the mental health space who might see clients that are similar to you, such as pediatricians, if you focus on child and adolescent therapy. Obviously, primary care physicians are important. And so think about, when you're thinking about the potential referrer, the best way to get in contact with them. If it's a small practice, such as a mental health practice, I suggest initial email. It's pretty easy to get into the inbox of the practice owner. When it comes to, say, specialists or GPs, primary care physicians, obviously it's a lot harder, probably impossible, to get into their inboxes most of the time. So sometimes it's about just popping in and saying hi, introducing yourself to the practice manager, handing a letter, maybe some flyers that they can then hand over to the doctors in the practice. So next marketing task to focus on is to run a Google ad campaign. So I know a lot of therapists, especially that I've spoken to, have had a bit of a bad experience with Google ads. But Google Ads within the therapy space can work really, really well. Sometimes people think that they don't work because people don't click on them because they know it's an ad up the top of Google. That's not the case at all, and the data certainly doesn't support that. People actually tend to be often more likely to click on the ad because they feel that it's actually answering the question that they popped into Google. So Google Ad basically is a campaign that you set up where you're basically paying for your ad or practice to appear up the top of Google, because we know that very few people go past the first page of Google, which means if your website isn't on that front page up the top, it's very easy for people just to never come across it. And especially in the early days, and SEO takes a really, really long time. So by having a Google ad campaign, it just means that your visibility just significantly goes up, and you'll see an almost instant increase in website traffic. Yet that traffic will take a bit of time to convert through, but it makes such a difference when you're just starting out. So it is quite complex, and I think that's where people can set it up and go, it's not working, I've just wasted all this money. You obviously have to set it up properly. And so I'm actually going to create some free training around Google Ads in the next few weeks. So I'll send a link to that, just to make sure that if you're going to set up a Google Ad campaign, you're just following these steps. And so you can make sure that the campaign is going to really work for you and bring in some more therapy clients. So number 8, marketing activity to focus on. So review your inquiry management process. And this really just needs to happen, say, once a year. And it's just making sure that you have systems in place to move those prospective clients who you really believe may benefit from seeing you as a therapist through to initial appointment. And so if you, in the early days, you probably don't have anyone else helping you with inquiries because you're probably doing everything yourself. But if you do have, say, admin support, just remember that you're putting an awful lot of trust in this person, because the inquiry process can make or break the practice, because you could have all these quality inquiries coming in, and if someone isn't getting back to them for a few days, or the service that they're getting just isn't very friendly and it's a bit rude, you're just going to lose people. So all that marketing work to get people to the inquiry stage is just wasted. So make sure if you do have staff that you're really monitoring them, you're putting templates together and scripts together that they can use as a basis to really communicate with those prospective clients. One thing that's also really important with inquiry management is follow-up. So follow-up is basically where if you receive an inquiry, you reply to that the same day, and then you don't hear back from that person, to have a system that flags you to go, okay, it's been 5 to 7 days, I'll check back in. Hi, just checking in to see if you have any further questions or would like to book an appointment. And that often brings in probably 20 to 30% more appointments just by reminding people. It's a good prompt for them to go ahead and book an appointment. So final marketing activity to focus on is retention. So it's a lot less work to keep a client than attract a new one. So obviously we don't want to keep clients with you who don't genuinely still need your help, but it's a good way to make sure that you're at least keeping those people in the practice that you believe genuinely need your help and also, want to be there as well. So obviously part of that is you providing an amazing service and therapy sessions, but another way is to just regularly check in with them. So after the first appointment, just reach out to them just to check in to see how they are after their first session, how their experience was. It's just a great way of them going, oh, this therapist really cares about me, they were thinking about me and wondering how I was doing. And another way to bring back past clients is to have a system where you're checking in with clients, say, every 6 months. So, for example, a client has their last appointment and then 6 months comes along and you send them an email or text or just saying, just checking in, just seeing how everything's going. And often that can be a prompt for them to go, oh, actually, I've been meaning to book an appointment and I'll do that now. And not everyone will, and that's okay. You'll just seem really lovely for checking in on them. So there are your 10 marketing activities to focus on for 2024. As I said, you don't need to do them all straight away, and some you only need to do, say, once every 6 months or every 12 months, but gradually just start adding them into the schedule and get more comfortable with them. And by consistently doing these marketing activities, you will start to see a difference and you will start to see more therapy clients come into your practice.